announcements here. Hi, I'm Krystal from the Dog Psychology and Training Center. This is my husband Eric, who just ran off the camera. And there is the rain we were trying to avoid. So today's Facebook Live, we are going to talk about should you take your dog to a live event. We were going to, and then it was supposed to storm, so we said nay.
Yeah, and here it is.
Yeah,
so
and there's the rain. So
not opt to do that.
And it was probably raining downtown way before it was here. So, so this live is going to be answering questions that we've gotten from families that we've helped, from families that just reached out from our page, just asking, you know, when do I know or how do I know that my dog's ready to go to a event? So an event is crazy, public, crowded,
loud,
chaos.
Usually food all over the place.
A live music event, so even more crowded, more likely to have food at lower levels, closer to a dog, and what else? More kids, more likely to be running around. So there's a lot of chaos involved, and it really just depends on your dog's personality. So get to know your dog first. You know your dog. And it's sometimes hard. Oh, did you guys hear the thunder? It's sometimes hard to not project our emotions on our dogs. Yeah. For example, you know, our Mastiff loves people, so that's easy. Like, we know she's gonna go anywhere. But our Schnauzer, our miniature Schnauzer, Pepper, he loves people, but he does not like crowds of people. And especially early on in our relationship with Pepper, we would just want him to love crowds so much.
Like,
now here's a little backstory. Man. Pepper's been blind since he was 2. It doesn't affect him at home. He knows where everything is. But out in public, obviously, like, he can smell and avoid people that way, but it's a lot more stressful. And as like much as Eric was getting ready to, I kind of cut in there, but that's how we were. We're like, just come on, we know you would love this if you would just give it a chance. And we really projected our own emotions on him. And then after a few times realized this isn't his thing. Yeah. It doesn't mean he's not a good dog. It doesn't mean that he hates people. He's just not a crowd dog. Just like some people. Like, I'm an introvert. And if I do like a crowd of people, I need like double or triple that time by myself alone afterwards. So some dogs are introverts, right? They don't really like other dogs or other people. Some dogs maybe have disabilities like Pepper, or some dogs, maybe a lot of the bigger breeds, the Mastiff breeds, they're not really equipped for the heat for summer events. That could lead to some crabbiness, right? If you're already hot, you're a huge dog, huge breed, you know, even if you brought your own water, it's going to be hard to stay hydrated because you might be so stressed, and I'm saying you as in the dog, might be so stressed that they might not drink water in a public place because they're so stressed. So getting more dehydrated, and then when you're dehydrated, you get crabby. And so that can lead to a lot of aggressors. Not that your dog's aggressive, but aggressors, just like with people. We can be a little aggressive and snooty with each other sometimes.
First thing in the morning, give me a little space.
Yeah, we're not the friendliest in the morning.
Midday, you can bump me around.
That's
whatever,
kind of our morning. We start to wake up midday.
First thing in the morning, give me a little bit of space. So what's maybe like some things that people can, what are some things people can think about or look at in their personal dog to try and determine, should I take my dog to this outdoor concert or this festival? Or
that's a great question. So your own experience, has your dog ever been in a room, like you've had people over to your house and you've had several people, so it was a crowd, and a crowd can be like, if you have a family of 5, then 7 is not a crowd. Maybe 10 is a crowd. If you're a family of 2 and you have like 7 people at your house, that's probably a crowd. So use your own judgment. But how does your dog do in that type of situation? Is your dog jumping on everybody? Is he sniffing in polite places? Is he barking at people? Did he growl at anybody? Did he hide in another room? Pepper, that's Pepper. He'll say hi to everybody and then he'll leave. And those are all just things to take into account of if your dog stayed in the room, he did not jump on anybody, he did not growl or snap or attempt to bite anybody, and just generally enjoyed the atmosphere, laid at people's feet, definitely probably a good dog to take downtown or to live events. But don't commit that first event you take your dog. Like, that's a practice event. Be prepared and have your mindset open, because again, we know how it is. We make up our mind and we do not like changing it, but sometimes per kids or dogs, you have to just say, you know what, we're not ready for this. Let's just leave.
Right. Yeah, so like
salsa at sunset, anyone? We thought it would be super cool and take our kids to learn salsa downtown, and we were there for like 10 minutes. I'm like, you know what, I'm ready.
Yeah, the kids
they
just
weren't
weren't
ready
having
for
it. They didn't want to be in anything that structured. They just wanted to.
When I think it was just the crowd, right? They weren't ready to learn salsa in a crowd. It was just too distracting, too overwhelming, too embarrassing. So nothing against our kids, although I was not happy at the time.
We didn't force it. We said, you know what?
They're not enjoying it. We're not enjoying it anymore. And we just left. And we live like 35 minutes from downtown, so that was hard.
It was not around the corner.
Just got here.
Yeah. So the first 1 or 2 times that you take your dog out, like, don't go to like your favorite yearly event that you just can't miss, and you've got your dog packed up, and you get out, and don't get out of the parking garage, and they're losing it. You know, because then
time to go home.
Yeah, you don't want to force it. So yeah, that's a very good point. Like the first 1 or 2 times, consider it a practice run. You know, go to something that you wouldn't be torn up about missing. So if you do get there and you find out that your dog is just, you know, your dog is, you know, ping-ponging at the end of the leash and just freaking out and barking at people, all right, let's go home. Maybe we'll try again, maybe we won't. But if that's the case, I'd probably like work on some of those just general obedience skills, and getting your dog to, you know, for one, walk on a loose leash and kind of take your lead.
Stay close.
Yeah.
Because even if they're walking on like a loose, 15-foot retractable leash, which we don't like or recommend, if they're that far away, they're going to be tripping people up. So they need to be by your side. Not like a structured heel at your left side, but within a close proximity to you.
So, what do you think about puppies going to loud events, concerts, or festivals? What do you think is a good age? How often should somebody take their puppy? Should they take their puppy?
Yeah, so that's a great question as well. Puppies go through stages just like toddlers, right? Some toddlers are like super courageous and spontaneous, and you're like, I don't know how they're going to survive till 3 because they have no fear. And then they hit that fear phase where like somebody like says, hey, in public, and they're like, ah! And they freak out. It's a phase, right? We as parents, especially third-time round parents, like it doesn't phase us anymore. We're just like, whatever. But the first time, we were like, oh my gosh, our kid's terrified of everybody, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, right? Within parameters. But same thing for puppies. They go through phases. So know your puppy's phase. And there's an age range. It can be anywhere between 8 weeks up to 14 weeks, but also up to 16 weeks is the socialization window. So socialization doesn't just mean with other dogs. That's with other people, other sexes of people, so boys and girls, men and women, little boys, little girls, all ages. Same thing with dogs, but only dogs that you know. Don't just go to a dog park, because if there's an aggressive dog there or a bully dog, your dog's going to realize all dogs suck. I don't like dogs anymore. But also to sounds, right? So motorcycles, cars, roadside sounds, big vehicle sounds, shopping stores, the different smells at pet stores or pet-friendly stores. All of those things are super important to introduce your puppy to, but again, in short bursts. Puppies have an attention span of less than 7 seconds. So if you take your puppy to an event that's 3 hours long, your puppy is going to be hopefully not aggressive, but just physically exhausted, which is not healthy for your puppy. It does weaken their immune system to be pushed that far.
Total overdrive.
But then the opposite could definitely happen, just like with us. What happens to cranky kids, cranky toddlers that are overdue for a snack or overdue for a nap? Nobody likes them. So same for puppies. They can get reactive, not because they're an aggressive dog, but because they're put in situations that push them so far that they had no choice but to snap or react in a way that made you realize something's not right. So I would not put your puppy in that situation at first. If you start your puppy, at 10, 11, 12 weeks, and you go for maybe like the last half of the, I wouldn't say half, the last 20 minutes of the event, or the first 20 minutes of the event, and then maybe push it to 30 or 40 minutes, and maybe an hour and a half, and then 2. So gradually introduce your puppy, but don't commit like, all right, my puppy's 14 weeks old. Krystal said this is a socialization window. I am just going to drown them in the deep end of the pool.
Yeah.
That's not what we're saying.
Yeah, because they will be, after even 20 minutes, like sensorial overload, like at an event like that.
And just like with kids, some puppies could do it. Some puppies could sit through that whole 3 hours and not be emotionally and physically drained. But that's probably not the norm.
That's the exception, not the rule.
That's the exception. Thank you. And then there are puppies that right away are going to freak out and be like fearful or aggressive, like can't handle it. So again, just be aware of your dog and your dog's body language because they speak to you way before they do verbal or vocal growls or snaps.
I'd say start small,
Yeah,
like before you take your dog out to, an outdoor concert or something to that effect where there's going to be thousands of people. Like try like Tractor Supply, see how they do there.
Or I might even recommend like the movies at night where they have the outdoor movies.
It's a lot more
pick a spot
low-key.
far away from people and sit through that whole movie and far away from people. That's important. And if your dog did great, maybe get a little bit closer to people.
Right.
And then you can be like right in the center of the crowd after several times of going. Your dog's phenomenal. But don't sit right in the middle your first time.
Yeah. I think some people, they kind of discount the effectiveness of having their dog really pulled away from what's happening. Like, you don't have to have your dog, like, right up in everything that's going on to socialize them or get them accustomed to those things. They could be 100, 200 feet away from certain things, and they're still experiencing it, but to a lesser degree.
Exactly, to a lesser degree, because they hear the movie, they probably see all the sounds, and they might see people walking by in a distance, but they don't have people reaching for them, groping them, coming at them. That would happen in a closer proximity. So you're kind of, what you said, limiting their exposure to the real world in a more controllable, it's not a controlled environment, but more controllable environment being separated.
Yeah.
So as you get closer, then there'll be more unpredicted things, like crazy kids, like our kids might be there, and they might be the ones that's causing all the chaos. Hopefully.
Yeah. So as you
unpredictable things,
as your dog tells you that they're able to get closer, because obviously, like Krystal's saying, you can read your dog. So if you're 100 feet away and your dog is still like flinching at every little thing and just like you can tell they're just like, oh my goodness, I can't take this all in, then maybe you should move back. You're not ready to move forward. But when your dog's just like, whatever, it's cool, and there's a movie going on and there's explosions and stuff and there's crowds of people shouting, okay, maybe you can get a little bit closer. And when you get closer and they experience those things, like it's almost like they've had enough repetitions of hearing something and nothing bad happening to them that they're not expecting. They don't have any negative preconceived notions. They've kind of filtered a lot of that out. They don't expect any negative thing to happen to them. So as long as nothing does happen to them, then you can really easily like get them closer and closer to the action.
That's a great point. So like Eric said, some of the fear behaviors you'll see is a dog that can't settle or lay down. If your dog is laying down within the first 5 minutes of that movie or event, and if he is startled back up to his feet and he quickly resettles, I'd say your dog's pretty good.
Yeah.
If your dog takes like 40 minutes to settle, he's not ready, even though he laid down.
Right.
That's a long time to get relaxed. Can you imagine if you had to go somewhere and the whole time you were just like so like uncomfortable, like you just thought somebody was going to stab you in your back the whole time. You're just like, literally somebody's going to stab a knife in my back. Like, that's not good, right? It's not good to be in that level of, or that state of mind of fear. And that's what your dog's doing when they don't relax. Like, they're on their feet because they're ready to run if something happens. It's not a good mentality. Like, they need to be calm. So, pacing is one thing. Jerking or jolting, like Eric said, like being startled, that startle reflex is another fear behavior. Maybe a dog that starts chewing on themselves or chewing on the grass, aggressive, like trying to eat all the grass. Also a dog that's not relaxed, right? They're kind of like, when I get nervous, I start kind of picking my nails, bad habit. But there's the stress signals, right? So learn to read your dog. If your dog looks like totally chill, he's cool. If your dog looks slightly agitated, he's losing it. Because dog body language is so much more subtle than human body language. And so they speak so subtly through those their body signals that you don't read it until it's really bad.
Yeah.
So definitely keep that in mind. Excessive shedding, excessive licking, really hard panting. Like normal panting's fine, like, but
yeah,
not cool. Your dog's dying for real. Like take that dog home and let him relax. So just get to know your dog. And gradually, in short bursts, expose them to more and more each time. So almost think of it as what we call the distraction ladder. What's the easiest thing your dog could get by in public? Okay, start there. What's the hardest thing? That's the last thing. Maybe it's going to a live event, and maybe walking downtown for Fall for Green, which dogs are not allowed. Don't take your dog. But I'm saying that kind of crowded event, that's going to be the ultimate of the ultimate. And most dogs, 99.9% of dogs are not going to enjoy that type of environment. So, unless they're a service dog and they're prepared for that because they were trained and gradually introduced.
Right.
I'm getting off on a tangent. But start small, right? Start at the bottom of that distraction ladder. What's the lowest event that's going to have the least amount of impact on your dog's mental well-being? And then work your way up harder and harder until you get to that spot you want, like enjoying a movie downtown in the crowd, or enjoying live music downtown, eating at a restaurant downtown. That's on the list, right? Start super small. It doesn't have to be an intense crowd.
Like on a Tuesday.
Yeah, a Tuesday night or lunchtime.
Not Friday at dinner time.
Right. That's a good point. So again, using those days of the week to gauge the crowd level of downtown, for sure.
So if my dog is telling me that they're not ready, what are some practical things that I can do to, outside of actual exposure to things? What are some practical things maybe I can try at home?
Yeah.
To better prepare them?
So we're really good at that because we have 3 kids, 5 and under. So it gets real crazy here. But
we can almost simulate a downtown event in this room.
In this room right here. So first off, be realistic. If your dog just doesn't seem like he is a people dog, or if he is a people dog like Pepper's clearly a people dog, but does not like crowds, just accept that he's not going to be the dog going downtown with you. That's okay. If you think your dog would enjoy it and he just had a rough start, like maybe he is a younger puppy, or you just adopted him so you have no idea, start small. So some of those things you can do at home is teaching your dog the settle command. We had a Facebook Live about that, where it's basically you take your dog's leash and you sit on the leash so that your dog has enough room to lay at your feet but not walk 3 feet away from you. So they have to lay right here. You can't talk to them, you can't touch them, and you can't look at them. And the whole point of this exercise is to teach your dog to lay down on his own without any input from you. So we're teaching them how to relax when nothing's going on. And so it almost is painful at first because if you just lay down, we could be done. But you can't talk to them because they need to make that decision, not you telling them. So practice that exercise. Once your dog starts getting really good at that exercise, you tuck that leash under your leg and your dog's laying down within 30 seconds. That's when you can start introducing some of those distractions. So does your dog do that when you're sitting on the front porch and there's people walking by? Pick the hot times of day, not hot by temperature, but hot as in frequent people that are coming by your house to walk, and practice there. You could have, maybe if you have company come over, like we have life group or Bible study here sometimes, that's a calmer environment. People are all sitting in chairs and we're just talking. A great environment to practice settle the dog because there's not a lot going on. When your dog's mastering that kind of stuff in the home, you could drop a metal folding chair or knock over a kitchen table chair to make a big bang in the house. Have somebody else do it because you're sitting on the dog's leash, and see how quickly your dog resettles. You can, at that point, you can say, it's okay, it's fine. And you can acknowledge that something happened and your dog's safe, but still no talking, no touching. See how quickly they resettle. And then I would go to Conacy, like Eric said, on a Tuesday night when it's not baseball season. But when it's calmer, right, and there's not as much traffic there, preferably midday or lunchtime would be better, but I know people probably are at work and don't have time on their lunch break to do this. But pick a day that's not as busy and go practice settle the dog on the park bench. You're literally only going to be there however long it takes your dog to settle, and then 5 to 10 minutes. Like, that's it. And then be like, great job, you settled really good. Calmly, don't get all, oh, what a good boy, because then you just made them crazy again. So calmly, oh, what a good boy, you settled so well, let's go back home. That's it. And your dog's going to think, well, that was boring. Okay, that's the point, right?
Yep.
We don't want them to think that going out is exciting, because then they're going to be crazy. You want them to go out and think, boring? Going out's boring. Like, yeah, I get to see stuff, but it's really not that. It's not that big of a deal. That's what we want. So condition your dog for that type of behavior. And then as your dog's doing great, like a Tuesday night Ptsd, maybe a Thursday night. Not Friday, not Saturday, Thursday night. And then Friday night. And then you can get closer and closer to downtown. Like maybe you go to Main Street, but you're like on the far west side where it's not as crazy. And you just walk around a little bit there, find a park bench, and practice the settle again.
Park yourself on a bench.
So again, like we talked about, that distraction ladder, started with the least distracting environment at home with nothing going on. Practice, settle the dog. And then add those distractions to it. It could be somebody coming in your front door. It could be you knocking over a chair. It could be your kids if you have kids. Be like, all right, kids, now you're going to be crazy. And let them just go. There's so many, I don't know if there's any other ideas.
Yeah, I think those are some fantastic ideas. And I would say, just to really drive home Krystal's point about short bursts, like I would aim for success in like even 5 minutes of success of like not pushing your dog to freaking out is going to be better than going for 40 minutes and having 30 minutes of success but then 10 minutes of failure. Because I mean, I would almost say, like, you think about like if you're lifting weights, like you get to a point that if you don't let your body rest, you can keep lifting weights, but you're not necessarily helping at that point. You're not benefiting from continuing to lift. You've got to let your body rest. The dog's got to let their mind rest to really absorb what just happened, and you kind of take that in. And also, like, you don't want to I mean, like we kind of mentioned, I was listening to one of our previous videos and we mentioned PTSD in dogs. Like, you can potentially get your dog, I mean, your dog can have like PTSD if they have a seriously traumatic experience. So, the further we push them to the edge, like the more likely that something like that could potentially happen. So, even like 5 minutes of a really good experience for a dog is going to be better than 30 or 40 or 50 minutes of a good experience, and then you end with a terrible ending.
Quality versus quantity.
Yeah.
We're looking for quality time, not the quantity of time, right? So keep it short, keep it sweet, and go home.
Yeah. So I will just say one more thing. If you guys are having troubles reading your dog, like maybe if you are doing one of these exercises like settle the dog, or if you've got your dog out at the park and there's not really anything going on and you're not really sure what your dog's telling you, maybe take a little video clip, post it in the comments or post it on our page and ask us, and I would be willing to interpret your dog's body language for you. If you guys are like,
we need a video though, because a picture can be deceiving.
It's got to be a video.
You can catch a picture where your dog just moves, and that's not body language. He's just moving.
Yeah.
So it has to be a video clip.
A still frame could be misinterpreted many times over.
You could be saying this.
Yeah. But get a video where we can see your dog's entire body, and we could help you kind of translate your dog is stressed because of X, Y, or Z, or your dog looks fairly relaxed. Maybe you should move back a few feet. Or, so yeah, if you guys are needing any help kind of reading that, post us a video and
we got you.
We'll translate. So I think that's it. So
we hope that you didn't go downtown today and get drenched.
Poured on.
But if you did, we're sorry.
Hopefully you have a water dog.
Yeah. Any Portuguese water dogs downtown tonight? What were you going to say before I interrupted?
Subscribe.
Yes.
Subscribe.
Yeah, if you like the video, the little 3 dots, click on that and you can subscribe.
Yeah, and if you happen to have a friend that always takes their dog out to things that you don't think are appropriate, just very casually share this video. You don't even have to tag them more than 1 or 2 times. Just
3 might
once.
be excessive, but twice I think is a good.